I'm now going to introduce your next speaker. And I first met Matt Elwell. And by the way, it's perfect that my final point of that presentation was the fortune is in the follow-up, because Matt is probably the person that really got my company, my team, nailing follow-up and training them. When he walked into my office and started training them back in 2017, within 30 days, my sales team had trebled their results, trebled the revenue they were generating for our business. They massively increased their output as well. They were dialing a lot more. They were a lot more engaged in the process. And so what Matt's going to do in this short presentation, he's going to share with you how to sell and close like a boss. This guy has directly added, literally, it's got to be over £2 million in revenue to my businesses in the last 3 years. And an immeasurable amount. It'd be in the tens of millions of pounds to the businesses of my clients. So I think you get immense value from this section. Get your notepad ready. Get ready to take lots of notes, because there's going to be loads of tangible information about how you can sell and close more effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my business partner in the Elite Closing Academy, Mr. Matt Elwell. Great dude.
I'm not going to start dancing.
Come on to Snoop. If you've got time, tell him Snoop's story.
You lot. I'm not dancing. Oh, we're dancing. Nick and I saw Snoop Dogg, like, I didn't even know who he was, in America about a year ago. It was amazing. Vegas. Expert Empires Global. What an amazing time to be alive, and what an amazing event that we've got here. My job in a short space of time is to do two things, really. Number one, I want to make sure that you can walk away with something. I'm going to give you 5 things, actually, that you can walk away with that are tangible actions that you can take right now. Not in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, now. And these are things that we teach our students, our academy members, our staff. These are working right now, and actually they've been modified as we move out of COVID season. So we're going to go away with 5 key things you can do. Now, the first part of what I want to say is, as it's a global event, I want to share something that's quite a big concern for me, actually. And that is that over the last 3 years, I personally have had the pleasure of working with hundreds, if not thousands, actually, who've attended our trainings, of experts just like you. Coaches, trainers, authors, speakers, investors, entrepreneurs. Hey, we're humans. Humans that care. And from my point of view, when I go on Clubhouse, when I coach people in America, when I speak to people all over Europe, do you know the biggest concern about sales is there's so much stuff out there, and the truth is there's no actual official way to sell. Nobody seems to, everybody's got a different way. Some are pushy, some are hard, some are sleazy, some are really too kind, some are like, some just talk too much. And the truth is, what I've created in the Elite Closing Academy is a formula, a system, a framework, if you like, to have what we call human-to-human interaction. What I want you to always remember, doesn't matter where you are on God's planet today, just remember this. At the other end of a lead is a human being. A lead is a human. A lead that you didn't follow up is a broken human. So just remember this. Your job as a professional salesperson, doesn't matter where you are, your job is very, very simple. Very, very simple. You've got to make sure that when you first have a conversation with another human being, you treat them as a human being that moved towards you in the first place, a human being that had a problem that led them to come towards you in the first place. That's why Nick teaches so much about having been known for something in the front end. It's one of the first things when people join the mastermind. I'm one of the lead coaches in the mastermind. We look at, what is your front end message? Like, what are you known for? How would I resonate with your message? How can I recommend you? So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get away from the fact that leads, creating opportunities. Never forget it's a human being. And remember, businesses are people. Write that down. Businesses are people. Groups of people. So it's the most important thing that you can do before you do anything else in sales is remember that it's your job to serve other human beings. Now, there's a couple of things about the philosophy that I teach. Now, I created something called Open with a Close. It's a philosophy. There's a couple of things, doesn't matter where you are on the planet, that you have to know about sales that we teach here differently to everybody else. Number one, write this down. Great selling is asking powerful questions, not telling. Write that down. Great selling is asking powerful questions, not telling. You don't have to explain everything. You have to ask and understand. Your job when you're selling is to find out whether or not the other human being or groups of humans in the business that you're talking to actually need or want what you do. Rule number one. Second thing is, what you have to remember is there are two worlds. There's everything that happens when you're selling, and then there's everything that happens when the sale's over and you're closing the sale. Selling and closing are so different, it's unbelievable. Imagine the moon, imagine the sun. They are not the same thing. So your job here is to commit to understanding when you're selling, and also one other global rule. Write this down. Never solve when you're selling. The solution is when they're closed and you exchange contracts and they get what led them to move towards you in the first place. Like, don't do a coaching session when you're selling. Don't be the person that does a discovery call that's really you're trying to sell them call. Like, either understand someone and commit to prospecting and selling to them, share information, understand what they need from you, and then, and only then, if you believe they're a good match, that's the time to make a proposal, a written proposal Nick talks about, and then let them decide. Write this down. Our job as professional salespeople is to ask, understand, and present information that's helpful for the other human being to make a decision. Their job is to decide. This takes away all the pressure. You don't have to keep assuming or presuming you know what they're thinking. You just got to present and let them decide. That's closing. Last thing from me to write down. Write this down. When your prospect is choosing, you're in control. When your prospect is choosing, you're in control. Not the other way around. Nothing worse than an unprofessional salesperson that at the slightest scintilla of interest in your product or service, let me explain how it all works. Here's what you get. This is why you should do it. People like you. Like, stop it. Just stop it. So that I can really, really serve you. Now that you've got some of the philosophy, there's one other thing I want to share before we go. See this thing here? It's called a heart. Your heart is 60 times more powerful than your head. Your heart has a brain. It's connected to your soul, your spirit, your voice, which was given to you as a gift. For others, you don't need a voice, remember that. Your voice is connected to your heart. It's connected to your brain. You've got to use your voice. You've got to ask questions. You've got to connect. Write this down. Sales is almost never about money. Almost never about money. I'm going to give you a question. When the money thing comes, show me an elbow if people ask you about money and you turn into a puddle. Show me an elbow if you get like a bit concerned when you talk about money. Loads of elbows going up. 2 elbows. Let me see some elbows you like. Like, here's a great question. Other than the money, give me 5 reasons why we should work together. Write that down. Okay, so you have now got some high-level philosophy about open with a close. My philosophy. Now, let's check in with all you lot, right here, right now. Remember, selling and closing is like a muscle. It takes 12 hours to go rusty. You've got to commit to practicing. So, I'm going to ask you 3 questions, Expert Empires Global. I'd like to check in, or I'd like you to check in on your sales right now. Question number 1. How would you describe your sales in 1 word? Amazing, indifferent, or terrible? Post your comments in the box below. In fact, wave at me if you're amazing at it. Wave at me. A few. Wave at me, like, do this if you're rubbish and you need to get better. Do this. I don't know what this is. It's warm in here, lads. It's warm in here. I wonder how warm it is in America, right? I've got all kinds of waving. I've got indifferent, terrible, exciting. Question number 2, on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 is absolutely knocking it out of the park. You've got a process, you've got a system. You can go from cold to sold. You use your heart as much as your head, and you know the exact words to say at the right time. That's a 10. 0 is absolutely just hide behind email. What's your number? I've got a -2, 8s, 9s. I've got a 10. Wow. Share with us. Loads of 2s, 7s. Okay, here's the big one. Here's the big one. This is the one that you're in control of the most. Never forget that. On a scale of 0 to 10, when it comes to your personal energy, how much effort do you put into being a professional salesperson? 10 is you commit all day, every day. 0 is not at all. 3s, 7s. Now just remember, this is a choice, and actually, one of the reasons why I wrote a book was because I wrote it as a tool for other human beings to be able to follow a system, but just by having the book, just by committing to a book, just by keeping it close by and having a highlighter, that increases your personal energy towards sales. Remember, that is a choice that you make. Like, we practice so hard at sales, it's unbelievable. We always practice. Now look, there's a couple of reasons why I created this philosophy, and there's a couple of reasons why I feel that I can stand here in front of you today with the confidence of having a repeatable system. And the first thing is, when I was 17 and a half years old, I used to knock doors, cold. And don't ask me why. First sales job I took in the city of Birmingham was to sell ladies' sanitary wear. Like, what was I thinking? So I used to knock on the door and say, hello, are you interested? No. Bang. Next one. Hello, would you like to know about... No. Bang. Thinking, oh my gosh, this is hard work. So after failing for quite a long time, I worked out that you have to have a powerful question. And when human beings are asked a question, what it does is it qualifies and disqualifies them for either wanting or needing what you do when answered. Here was my question. Hey, I really need some help. Who in your organisation is responsible for the health and wellness of your female staff? Stop talking. By the way, you have to get really good at asking questions and then stop speaking. Listening is an emotional skill. It's not logical to listen. Show me your elbows if you love to be listened to by salespeople. Yeah, we love to be listened to, don't we? Yet what do 90% of salespeople do? Talk. No need to talk. Ask and understand when you're selling. Now, the other thing that happened to me at a very early age in my life was at the age of about 18, after realising I was crap at knocking doors, but got better and started to learn my own system. I went to work in what would be known as a really competitive environment, the photocopying industry. And I used to watch grown adult men and women turn up into the sales office with no system. They didn't have a process. They didn't know what the logical next step was. And they used to start off when they got on the computer phone. By the way, this is not a phone, it's a computer phone. It's a computer with a phone on it. So if you don't like picking up the phone, just pick up the computer. It's fine. All right? It's a computer phone. You can do everything on this. This is like, after yourself, this is the second most important thing you've got. So I used to stand with grown adult men and women who used to fail at sales. They were lovely people, but they used to start sales conversations like this. Hello, I appreciate you're busy, and I know it's probably more than you want to spend, and it's just a quick call. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I used to say, that's 4 lies. What are you talking about? You haven't even started yet. And by the way, as an 18-year-old man, watching other people fail around me was horrible. And do you know what the worst bit was? Was the hindering thoughts they used to have. And that's why I created this system, open with a close. It's 12 points, and the first 5 points of the system are for the professional salesperson, me, when I was 18, to actually have some skill, to actually have some structure to a conversation. Because I didn't want to fail. And you see, when you're an expert, here's the problem. If you can't sell, or if you're really good at serving but you forget to sell, or maybe you sell in a way that's quite good but you don't close, you get to the end of every month, you're like, I've worked really hard, I've given like loads and loads and loads of value and I've served people, but I haven't got enough money, I can't pay my bills. That's just down to a system. That's all you need. You just need a system and a framework, and you have to make sure that you can, from a place of certainty, from a place of service. Like my two favourite words, write these down. Professional salespeople are always in service to others. We don't need to push. We don't need to persuade. We don't need to explain. We need to ask. We need to understand. We need to ask questions that are linked to the outcomes that others get when they work with us. So when I learned at a young age to follow a system, to be totally and utterly committed to asking powerful questions that enabled me to understand whether or not they were actually qualified and needed what I did. When I understand that and I start to put it into a system, I started my own business at the age of 22. And sales was always our strength. And what I want to explain in a visual way, if I may, what we teach in the academy and the Elite Closing Academy formula, we have a formula, is basically like a spinal cord. It's a process that you can follow. From the moment you have a conversation with another human being to the moment you're exchanging contracts with somebody who wants or needs what you do. And the skill to great sales is to make sure that you always have a logical next step on the process, but critically, that in between the spinal cord, those little spongy bits, is where you should be. Sales should be natural. Sales should be genuine. It doesn't have to be all smoke and mirrors. And when you've got the interests of the client in mind, and you have a logical next step at the end of each conversation, so that they move along the process, when you genuinely care about what's in it for them, that's when having a system's great, but that's where the human element to a sales process comes in. This is where Elite Closing is. I always found that so many businesses that I dealt with over the years always made it about money, and they made it about logic, and this end result was always about return on investment. And I'm asking you to search for the end in mind, but don't just make it about the money. There's a couple of other words I want to share with you. Write the word collaboration down. Great selling is to collaborate with somebody else. What we're looking for in the expert space and around the globe, we're looking for a win for our client first. And here's the question you must ask them. Here's a great sales question. Write it down. What result would you need to get for this to be the greatest decision you've ever made? That's a great sales question. Put your hands over your mouth and let them answer. Really, really important. Really, really important that you are able to start with the end in mind. Let them answer. And the first answer will never be the exact truth. You've got to ask again. Thank you for sharing that. What else would you need to get other than money in the next XYZ amount of time for this to be the greatest decision you've ever made? Who else in your life will benefit when you learn what we sell? Who else is going to benefit? Make it emotional. Write this down. 80% of every sale is emotional. 20% is logical. And this is why I say, look, sales is almost never about money. You have to make sure that the end result, open with a close, at the very beginning, ask them, what does the end look like for you? We want to win for them. And when your customer wins, you win, a win for you. A win for them, a win for you, and the last win. And let's face it, this is the biggest win required right here, right now, as we move out of COVID season. A win for the universe. You see, when two humans or two groups of humans can come together in a sales environment, and it can be natural, and it can be exciting, and it can be professional, and both parties end up getting exactly what they want. The universe wins. Happy people. And look, right here, right now, as we move out of this pandemic, we, the people, the entrepreneurs, we're the people that we need to succeed. Our sales need to be good. Our emotional bank account needs to be high, and our financial bank account needs to be high. We need to pay our taxes so that our governments can rebuild and support those people that are in a worse position than us. This is a duty. This is a duty on us. Okay, so I promised you that I'd give you 5 things that you can do right here, right now. 5 things. Number 1, write this down. The most important close you're ever going to have in your whole career is yourself. It's called the close yourself cycle. If you do not believe that your product or your service, when implemented in somebody else's business, genuinely is going to get them a better result, you need to go back and ask yourself, what else do I need to put into the product or service? You have got to be sold on yourself. Honestly, the thing that I see the most, the number one thing you need the most, is this word. Salespeople that don't have this cause all kinds of trouble for themselves. Certainty. That's the thing that will sell your product or service. If somebody asks you how much it is, if you turn into a puddle, it creates uncertainty. If somebody says, how's it work? And you're like, oh, it's bespoke. It all depends. Like, stop it. Of course it's bespoke. Every single thing in life is bespoke. Human-to-human interaction is bespoke. But allow for the framework of your product or service to have a bespoke aspect to it. Everybody who works with me, the first thing they do in the Elite Closing Academy, one-to-one consultation with me. When you join Nick James Mastermind, first thing you have is a one-to-one consultation with a lead coach. To make it bespoke, of course it's bespoke. But if you have any doubt, if you use any words that are if, buts, or maybes, I call them. If you've got any if, buts, or maybes, it creates uncertainty within the prospect. And remember, the prospect is a human being that's searching for certainty. So get really good. Like, what's your package? What's your offer? Don't have 10, have 1. Have 1 that works. And when it's full and you've got 10, that's the time to get another one. When I first started out, Nick James was my first client. Coaching consultancy, sales consultancy. Greatest decision I ever made. Nick and I have a formidable partnership, and I'm so proud to call him my business partner. And I'm so excited. We already have clients in the Elite Closing Academy all over the world. We haven't even started yet. And Nick, he's the man who is behind the strategy. But here's the great news. When I first met Nick, I had a coaching consultancy. That was it. Hey, how do I work with you? It's a consultation. So close yourself first. And if you're struggling with this, ask yourself this question. When you decided to do what you do for others, what was your strongest reason? And if that still doesn't resonate, then ask this question. When somebody commits to working with you, what result do they get? Focus on them. And that will push you through. Because sales is hard work, in brackets. Closing should be easy. Sales is hard work, in brackets, work. Hard work. Closing is easy. The second thing you must do is you have to declutter yourself in here. See this thing in here? Very powerful thing. The brain. Now, I'm going to give you 3 things to make sure that every single day of your life, as a professional salesperson, in service of those that want or need you, you never, ever, ever, ever go into assumption or presumption. So, question number 1. Write this down every morning. Whenever you put your sales skin on, what assumptions might I be making that are not serving me to serve others? Assumptions. Like things like people can't afford it. What do you mean? Which people? There's 7.8 billion people on God's planet. And you're telling yourself that people can't afford it? Move towards the people that can afford it. Go and find them. But remember, that assumption is not going to serve you, because it will create no action. And if you don't move towards prospects, if you don't move towards people that want or need you, you're never going to close them. And they're never going to get the thing that led them to come towards you in the first place and get themselves out of pain. Show me an elbow if you have a product or service that takes people out of pain, physically or emotionally. Yeah, loads of you. Like, this is why you've got to learn how to serve, sell and close using your heart, your head, having a system, staying in service to others all the time. Second one is, what presumptions am I making that are not serving me to serve others? Remember, a presumption is something that cannot be proven. Here's a great one. I can't afford it. Prove it then. Go and get your bank statement. Let me see how much you've got on your savings account. Let me see your access to credit. Don't say this, by the way. I'm trying to unblock you. It's almost never about the money. If somebody really needs something, like if my wife, I think's on here somewhere today. Kerry, where are you, Kez? And my little daughters, I think they're on here. So if she rang me now and said, there's a tiger in the garden, and it's trying to eat one of the kids, I'd say, I'm in London, on a stage, I'm busy. Pop it on an email, have a think about it. If she said, by the way, there's some great news, the next door neighbour, Rob, can use a tranquiliser and gently put it down and it's all going to be safe, I'd be like, great, tranquilise it. No, nobody wants 50 grand. I would not say, pop it on an email and have a think about it. I'd either find the money or I'd release the cash. And by the way, this is, when you commit to understanding what people really want. There's my little girl, Eva Lily. How are you? Oh, she's got a little thumb. She's got a little thumb. Everybody get a thumb out for Eva Lily Elwell. Please. Hello, darling. Hello, babe. Look at all them thumbs. The third thing you must do is make sure that you eradicate opinions of others that cannot be proven. Turn the news off. Stop telling yourself the world's got no money. There's $7 trillion US in the world's arena right here, right now, as a result of COVID. In fact, Britain has never had so much spare cash in all its life. Of course, some people have found this tough. But you've got to declutter yourself as a salesperson and start with a blank page and focus on them. What do they need from you? What pain are they in? How urgent is it? How much trust is there between the two humans? And when you've got those four things, that's the time to present a written proposal, stop selling, and start closing. Number 3, ask great questions. Language is our greatest gift. Our voice is our greatest gift. It was a gift. You don't need a voice. You don't need a voice. You can live on a desert island for 100 years. Have go-to questions. Here's a few. I've already given you, like, what result would you need to get for this to be the greatest decision you've ever made? That's a sales question. How long have you had the problem? What's going to happen if you don't solve it? How critical is it to resolve right now? This is sales. This is sales. And there's a little caveat. You must practice questions. Get in a mirror. Use your tonality. Ask yourself a question, because you know what? You will know this. It's not the words. It's what's underneath the words. It's whether or not you're really committed to finding out what people really need from you. It's whether or not you really care. So practice. Practice your tonality. Practice with others. Role play. When somebody says, how much is it? Have an answer. Make it certain. Don't turn into a puddle. Be proud of it. Remember, it's what they get when they work with you. That's what you've got to find out. What's the truth? What's underneath that? What would you need to get when you work with me that you're not getting now for you to overcome all these stalls and objections and obstacles? Number 4, make sure you have an outcome to every conversation. Never, ever, 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 ever go into a sales conversation at the top where you don't know exactly what this is. Always have an outcome. I'll give you an example. If you were to get in a car, your GPRS, You can't type in, well, I need to go to my mum and dad's, then I'm going to pick some meat up, and then I want to go to the sales training company. You've got to go to one place. And then, if there is a bump in the road, what happens is the sat-nav finds a way around it. This is how you overcome obstacles and objections. You find out what might go wrong at the front, not at the end. If people object to you here, you'll have to persuade and explain. I want objections up here. I want to find out what the bumps are in the road. And I want to find out what we might do to get around them so that they can get the end result that led them to come towards me in the first place. Now, the last thing, before I go, I've got a couple of minutes and we've got to move on. I could stay all day. You're all amazing. The last thing is this. Nick already alluded to it earlier. And actually, this time last year, just as we moved into the pandemic, a lady called Del Parsons, I don't know whether Del's on, she's in the mastermind and she's also in the academy. And we put a little script together, some words that felt natural to her, not like a Dalek words. So, number 5, Nick's already asked you to write down anybody that you can do business with right now. And let me tell you this, everybody. If they're not, they should be in your computer phone. And if they're not, ask yourself this question. Who in my computer phone knows somebody who might need me? And what I want you to do is to move towards that list. Yes, what Nick does with the marketing and the iPads, and amazing. But do you know the quickest, easiest way? Call them. And here's how it goes. It's called the I've been thinking about your script. Hey, you're on my wall. I really need some help. Over the last few weeks and months, I've invested a huge amount of time, money, and energy in my coaching, training, expert business. You're on my wall because I wanted to ask you, who do you know right now might possibly need me? That's it. Move towards those that already know you. Move towards them with certainty. That's the way to do it. Move towards everybody that already knows you right here, right now. Anybody that was a lead before, they're still a lead now. Even if you didn't get back to them, move back towards them anyway. Remember, an unfollowed up lead is a broken human. Somebody who needed or wanted what you do. Move towards them with this. Ask them a powerful question, put your hands over your mouth and re-engage. And you will be amazed. You see, when you learn this, you don't have to, what you get rid of straight away is the need to constantly create new leads and new content. And what you remove is all the hindering thoughts about, I didn't close them, they didn't get back to me. The truth is you didn't get back to them. So you must move towards everybody that already knows you. And that is the 5th and final thing that you can do right here, right now. Expert Empires Global. So before I go, because my time's up, you've heard Nick mention Open with a Close. And some of you, I think, have probably already got this book. If you haven't, we would like to give you a free gift. This is the book. In this book is, if you've enjoyed today, is the framework and my system. Oh, some people, Laura's got one there. Some people have already got it. This has got a 12-point system, the exact words and the framework and the structure to pick up the computer phone and make a structured sales conversation in service to another human that wants or needs what you do. So all you've got to do, there's going to be a link in the comments in a second. You're going to get this delivered to your house for free. You're also going to get the audio version, if you like to listen to it in your earpods, for free. And you're also going to get 19 videos, me, explaining each chapter and helping you integrate the learning. Last thing from me, so all you've got to do, by the way, is just click that link and we'll send you all that for free. It's everything you're going to get there is for free, all right? So click on the link, it's in there now. And last thing from me, if you do nothing from what I've said today, but take one thing, then do one thing for me. And write down the word energy, in green if possible. And remember, if you want to become elite at sales, if you want to be an elite closer, then the amount of energy and time that you put into this amazing skill will be the difference between how big your business gets and, much more importantly, will be the difference between how big a difference you make on this planet before you leave it. I've really enjoyed talking to you all today.
Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Matt Elwell.